Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for Nerds by Nerds, and today I'm hanging out with Adam Bradford of D&D Beyond, and I'm sure D&D Beyond is going to come up. We'll be able to take some questions here, as well as we'll be talking about gaming and D&D and being a nerd in general, I suspect. How are you today, sir?
Doing great. Thanks for having me. Very excited about this.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So I must say, I actually used D&D Beyond last night for the second time during a game.
Okay, so that was just research and not because you wanted to use it.
No. Actually, I actually forget about it sometimes. I forget about a lot of things sometimes, but no, like so sometimes what I'll do when I'm running my live stream games, I'll go to like the SRD and just kind of pick a couple things that I might want to use and put them in Windows and minimize them. So I just did the same thing with D&D Beyond, and for anyone who wants to know, like I just used the basic version, the free version, no monthly subscriptions, no upgraded content, nothing, and it did exactly what I needed. There was a ton of monsters to pick from, and and it was fine. It helped me out. And the first time we used it though was actually at Gen Con.
Oh yeah, how did you use it at Gen Con?
Well, it had just been released, and my staff editor had already subscribed and picked up some content. Or no, he subscribed. He might have gotten some content, but we were getting ready to do a pickup game, and none of us had any books. But we still wanted to play D&D, and so I didn't have a monster manual to run from. And Doug's like, "Well, I got D&D Beyond on my phone." And then he just picked up the monster manual, and we ran from there.
Perfect. That's a very good use case. That's definitely one of the major points we're trying to get out there.
Probably didn't even have to pick up the monster manual. I still would have been able to use it fine. Now, I know from talking to him, he's been playing with it, and he's like, this is so much better than carrying around my duffel bag of books.
Yeah, I see you've got quite a few books on the shelf back there. I see that, I'm not sure what material that's made out of. It looks like it's bowing in the middle just a little bit on that shelf. So it's like, they definitely get heavy, and it is very good to have D&D on the go. That's one of the things that I really enjoy myself. I'm in the supermarket. Kids running around, whatever. We're trying to get out of there unscathed. And I have a thought that I want to build some type of character, some kind of NPC that I'm going to terrorize players with. And I know that I have it right there, can pull it right up, look at exactly what I need, very, very quickly and easily. So that was a big part of what we wanted to start with when the entire concept came out. It was all about character creation. It was all about, being sure that we made these tools that people had been asking for some time. And it really turned into something that we wanted to be this comprehensive resource. We wanted to deliver the actual material that people could read through. And some of our website statistics, it's really interesting. We were looking yesterday, kind of a 1 month review, since we've been launched for that long now, and looking at Google Analytics and everything that's going on. Some of the really key metrics that we look at, like time on page and session duration and that kind of thing. We've got really, really high numbers for D&D Beyond because people are coming there and they are reading. We're hearing, the anecdotal evidence everywhere that people are just checking out things here and there. They're actually using it to run their game. And so people are spending a lot of time on these pages that are really useful to them between sessions and during the session.
All right. So there's a question from Cody Sams. And the first part of it seems pretty obvious to me. What made you guys decide to go with the Twitch login? Well, Curse is owned by Twitch. So
thanks for answering that for us. Yeah, so I can definitely answer that. We are owned by Twitch, and so I've in several places tried to channel Socrates as much as possible, but it's essentially A D&D Beyond login is a curse login. A curse login is a Twitch login. Therefore, a D&D Beyond login is a Twitch login. So actually, every one of our sites, so we run some of the biggest gaming websites in the world. We run Gamepedia, just celebrated their 5-year anniversary yesterday. We run Hearthpwn. We run a lot of games. We run MMO Champion for World of Warcraft. And for all of these sites, all of those actually now use a Twitch login. And so it's just part of our integration with our parent company. And so we're not trying to push anybody into streaming or anything else that Twitch is trying to do. It's more that it just makes sense for us to consolidate our technology into a single stack, and it makes everything easier to support. So that's definitely why we're using that Twitch login.
So Cody also has like a second part of that question. Any plans to expand to Google, Apple logins? And also, what does this mean for the Dragon Plus app? Might not mean anything for the Dragon Plus app because you guys are separate from Wizards of the Coast.
We are. We're partnered with Wizards of the Coast. We are definitely a separate company. We're partnered very closely with them, which has been great. Everything is going really well on that front. But we are a separate company. We're going to continue to look for ways that people can access the content easier and in ways that we can support from a technology standpoint. So that sounded really, really, kind of promo-y, and I don't mean it to, but ultimately what I'm saying is that we will certainly continue to monitor what the needs of the community are. At this point in time, our planned login system is Twitch.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So, guys, there is a link in the description. It's going to basically expire in the last 15 minutes of this live stream. So that if you're on the live stream now, click that link. It's a Gleam link, and that will sign you up for the Legendary Bundle giveaway. Which I want to thank you, Adam, for. That's a tremendous value and gift for the community. So greatly appreciate it. That's an awesome giveaway.
Yeah, absolutely. Good luck to everyone.
And Zarif Gaming, you have it right. Everyone else, if you have questions, just put GM911 or a question in front of it, so this way we can pick them out real easy. When is the whole character information popping on the stream going to happen?
Character information popping on the stream. I think I'm going to rename that internally to character popping information on the screen. Like I actually like that. I'm going to go with that. We've been calling that stream integration, and it's a very good question. I'm going to give my very honest and transparent answer here. I really hope we can do that this year. That's essentially where I'm trying to target myself and with the team. We have a list of literally thousands of things that we're trying to do right now. And I know people say that sometimes, but I could actually show you the list of thousands of things that we're trying to do. And ultimately, stream integration is one of those things that is really bubbling up to the top of that list. And so we are really trying to focus on that. We're trying to find the right resources that can make that happen in a way that is going to be very beneficial to the community. We're really excited about that. I think one of the things that has happened with Dungeons and Dragons is obviously that streaming has become this really big thing. It's kind of the primary ambassador of the game now at this point. And Mike Merles always uses that baseball example where he's like, hey, if I hand you this baseball rule book, there is no flipping way that anyone out there, and anyone that says that they can is just lying. There's no way that you could take that rule book and play baseball. Like there's just no way that that could happen. And so Dungeons and Dragons, the way they tried to handle this for just decades is they just added more and more and more to that rule book in order for people to be able to actually read between the lines, because the actual words were placed into the book. And so now with streaming and the advent of everything that's happening there, people can see other people play the game. I remember that's how I learned when I was younger and I was starting out, and I took those first simple steps into dungeon mastering. I went to a local gaming store. It was called Bookmark. Rest in peace. It's not there anymore. But basically, I went up there several weekends and just watched people in their attic dungeon play Dungeons and Dragons, and I learned more about the game in those 3 or 4 weeks of doing that than I probably have since. And so watching people play Dungeons and Dragons is a big deal. And what we're running into with streaming now, and I blame sports, football. Watched a football game kind of for the first time in a long time the other day, and throwing the football. They're showing like all these computer animated things coming off the football now, where people can keep track of the football itself. And obviously, they show the first down markers, on the field. All this computer overlay type thing. And I think that's a great place for Dungeons and Dragons streaming to eventually go, is to have this element where the audience can be engaged not only by what is happening on the screen, but also by this kind of augmented experience. And so that's really what we're trying to do there. And the starting point for that, I don't want to make these huge promises that it's going to take us a while to deliver on, but the starting point is going to be pretty simple. We'll have character nameplates. Those nameplates you can hover over. The nameplate will expand the full character information, because that's one of the things that people constantly want to know. You can watch Critical Role and you can see that they cycle through the character cards with kind of the key statistics information. They cycle through that, but it never fails when you want to actually see what Grog's armor class is. If you haven't gotten that memorized by now, you're not going to see that until it cycles back through. And this way you can do that on demand with what we're going to do with stream integration. It's
actually better than that, in my opinion, because it free, like, both as someone who would be watching, as someone and as a creator, it frees up that real estate on the screen. Like,
absolutely,
there's never now the screen just essentially got bigger because we don't have to put that information up anymore. So that part is really cool. We are in phase 2 right now.
No, we've done away with phases. Boy, phases were probably a mistake. Just from the expectations that came, and even some of the messaging around it. So we're going to continue to learn from mistakes. So we're in the middle of development on a mobile app, native mobile app. Very, very exciting. There's going to be a lot of really good things that are going to come from that. One of the things we're focusing on is making things really quick and snappy. And so we're talking about, we're going to beta the mobile app as well, because that has really worked for us. Beta testing on everything that D&D Beyond has become is my primary reason that it is what it is now. And I want to emphasize, it is absolutely a starting point. We're not done. Like I said, thousands of things on this list that we're doing, but ultimately beta testing has been incredibly useful. We get thousands, if not millions, of posts with feedback. I have personally read every single one of those posts that have anything to do with features. We are pouring through that, trying to keep our fingers on the pulse of what the community wants and needs. And so we're going to do the same thing with the mobile app. And so as we are able to release that, we were talking yesterday in an internal meeting here. We're like, yeah, we're not going to use phase numbers here. That was a little too confusing last time. We're instead just going to talk about, this is the functionality that we are currently beta testing. So we are fully live at this point. So we're kind of out of any phases on D&D Beyond. And what we have launched with is, we do have the compendium content, these listings, and it sounds like you were probably using listings in your game last night to look up monsters. So we've got all of that going on. We've got character builder and character sheet, and that is, again, in a starting point. I think that people sometimes underestimate just how complicated even 5th edition, like, we're not even talking about 4th edition, but even 5th edition can be, with so many rules, so many exceptions to those rules. And so we've got the groundwork laid for what we want to see with character building and this digital character sheet. We do have a PDF export of the sheet, but I'll be completely honest, we're not happy at all really with where that is. So a lot of work is currently going on to make improvements to the builder and to the sheet, and a big part of that has been pouring through this feedback and figuring out what people are going to find the most useful at the table. So we've compiled all that. We've got some new designs. I saw it made rounds through Twitter a few weeks ago. We'll share a little bit more about that. I'm actually starting a live stream on Friday which is going to be a monthly thing that we're going to do on our Twitch channel that has not really started at all yet. This will be the inaugural stream for that. And then the Wizards of the Coast Twitch channel will also host that. But it's kind of fireside. It's developer update. It's just giving news and updates on where we are with everything. And so we'll share more about that character sheet revamp a little bit there. But I'm really happy about the direction that that's going. And I think that by the time that we get through that, we're going to be in a really, really good place with character building and the character sheet. And then finally, as I take a breath, you're going to have to interrupt me every once in a while. But as I take a breath here, we do have homebrew content, and we've got the skeleton, and I want to emphasize the skeleton part of campaign management out there. And really all that's doing for us right now is it is entirely laying a groundwork that we're going to build a lot of things off of in the future. Right now, its key purpose is to allow people to share content. So if you have this master tier subscription, you have things purchased. I think you said it was your stepbrother at Gen Con. If he has all the stuff, he can share that with up to be honest, it's like 36 people.
Adam, your mic is getting a bit static. I don't know if pulling it away a little bit will help.
Pulling away. Is that better?
We're still getting a bit of it, but you can still hear you. You're just crackling and robotic.
Okay. Well, I'll try to maybe breathe less. Will breathing less work? Maybe.
It might even just be a connection or wire or something with it. I'm not sure.
Okay. I mean, we are, we belong to a streaming company, so hopefully we can figure this
out. So a lot, there's a bunch of good questions coming in the chat here. People are definitely curious, but I guess my question would be so what is the big ticket item on your list that you guys want to do next? Like, what is your number one priority right now?
Very good question, and you're stealing some of my thunder on Friday, but I'm going to, because I like you, I'm going to go ahead and give you some of that. So we are really, really focused at the moment on making those character builder and character sheet improvements. Is the mic any better? I don't like
it's still a little rattly, but I can make you out. So,
all right, if anyone is in the building and is like listening to me right now and it sounds terrible, please come help me. So ultimately we are focused on those character builder and character sheet improvements in the very short term. So we're doing things like things that we've always wanted to do with starting equipment. Right now we're working on that. We've got the ability to someone came, that's good. All right, someone's coming to save the day. All right, starting equipment, you'll be able to select starting equipment easily, quickly. You'll be able to get all of that to just go right into the sheet for you. It's little things like that as we made this big wide swath when we first came through with development, that we weren't able to fit in and put into the actual web application. So then from there, it is going to go into the actual revamp, and so a lot of the rest of this year is going to be focused a great deal on making those builder and sheet improvements to where we are where we really want to be, where the vision has been the whole time. So a lot of that's going to be centered around that. We are going to do our best to do something with stream integration in between here and there. We're going to add homebrew races, subclasses, backgrounds, and feats. So you'll be able to, one of the surprising parts of the entire tool set at the moment is we've got just thousands and thousands of people creating homebrew content, and we're really happy about that. I go out there sometimes and just browse that, check it out every now and then, and think, this is a really interesting thing that this person made. Like, I'm not exactly sure how balanced this is, but hey, it's their game, and I'm glad that they enjoy it. But still, it's like really incredible what we've got there. So we're going to add all those other elements and ways to homebrew where you can use that and integrate that into the builder and the sheet. And then kind of from there, the real big ticket thing that we're looking forward to incredibly is encounter building and monster building. So we're going to really shift focus after we get to a good place with where character building is. We're going to shift the focus to, are we okay? Everything all right?
Yeah, it just got
He's
way
going to do
better.
something.
Yeah.
He's doing something.
We're just going to go black in the background if it's okay with you. I don't know if it's using it. I don't know. We're having just a weird issue. Where
Oh, I'm not in the Shadowfell anymore.
No, I'm gonna
No. So while they're adjusting over there, just a reminder, guys, there is a link in the description for the contest for the legendary bundle, which is an awesome prize. It's a Gleam link, and basically it's going to make you click a button to bring you back to the page you're already on, because I had to have something you have to take. I had to put an action to take, so just logging in wasn't enough. So that's what it is. You guys are able to just go into the description, click on that, log in, and click the button, and it'll take you to the stream you're already on, basically. So I think they got you fixed over. It sounded like it.
Maybe. Do I sound better?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. So I guess, they were trying to get fancy. I was like, look, guys, I really like these Nerdarchy folks and the things that I like about them. I still remember the very first video I watched with you guys was where you were arguing about, friendly arguing, but you were arguing about what the best archer was in 5th edition. And I completely disagreed with most of you, but I appreciated all the banter back and forth, and I really appreciate that. And I said, look, these guys are genuine, they're authentic. You should see this like literal dungeon that he sets up in, like, because one of these days, like, I want you to kind of pan the camera and just see like what's to your left there, or something. But I was like, we do not need for me to be in the Shadowfell, but they were like, oh no, it'll be good. But I think the Shadowfell was sucking the life out of whatever was going on with audio here. So I apologize to anyone's ears.
No worry, it wasn't horrendous. I've definitely heard much worse.
All right, I'm not repeating.
It sound like Robot Adam. That's all.
Autobots transform and roll out.
And we are, we're no strangers here to tech issues, so so that's definitely so. Stepping away from D&D and Beyond for a minute, let's talk a little gaming. Okay. Are you currently running or playing in any games?
Yes, absolutely. So probably too many. So as we've been ramping up towards launch, unfortunately, I have not been able to do that as much as I wanted to. We're working, we were working 12-hour days. It wasn't, any kind of like forced labor situation. Everybody wanted to do it, I assure you. But we were really pushing, and so I had to put some of this on pause. But I've got a game going on. I've got an 8-year-old and 12-year-old son. Hi, Luke and Will. Daddy loves you. But yeah. So I play with them. Before we kind of hit this launch crunch, I've played with them. They are probably better than most of the players that I play with, but they're kind of amazing, to be honest. So that game I'm hoping to resume anytime now. When we were starting D&D Beyond in the first place, the best way for me to pitch to the company that, hey, this is something that we should do, was to get them to play D&D. And so we got them to play D&D, and as that happened, the game grew. I think by the end of it, I had 12 players or something that we were trying to fit into this conference room. We were trying to get everybody in there. It was kind of a disaster with that many people, if anyone's ever tried that before. But it was helpful for people to see what Dungeons & Dragons is. And so we were playing through Tyranny of Dragons. So we went all the way through Horde of the Dragon Queen. We had this huge thing last Christmas. It was kind of when our office was going to shut down for the holidays. We came up here and spent 12 hours on a Saturday playing Dungeons and Dragons with this 2-scale Skyreach castle. Sorry about any spoilers there. That's all I'll say about it. But if you haven't played that adventure, it's been out for 10 years at this point. But yeah, so we had this full 2-scale Skyreach castle that my wife graciously let me craft in our sunroom. And so basically the entire sunroom was taken over for, a couple of months. And we made this huge thing. And so huge deal. So as we were getting into launch, we were in Rise of Tiamat, and we had to stop our regular Thursday night games. And when we stopped that and came back after launch, so we have resumed, so we're in the middle of it, I wanted to really shake things up. I felt like the characters were getting pretty comfortable. So we came back and said, you know what, hey, I'm going to give you guys 5 levels. You're going to be level 15 now. But here's the deal. You've been trapped in the Shadowfell for a year. You have not been able to reemerge from the Shadowfell. And there are reasons for that, I assure you. But they were trapped there. They came back. No one was there to stop Tiamat, and she is now risen, and she has made Waterdeep her actual lair at this point. So basically, they're in this totalitarian, just horrible place to live. They've become trapped in the Underdark at this point, and while they were also gone, Gromph got up to his shenanigans, and the demon lords are loose in the Underdark. And so it is this nightmarish thing, and I'm really trying to test it, even with D&D Beyond, for high-level play, because high-level play doesn't get a ton of attention and focus, and there are good reasons for that, because the data supports that hardly anyone plays past about 10th level, right? And we can even start to see some of that data on our side with people creating characters and what level are those characters actually in D&D Beyond. But it's a real test for like how high level play can happen. How can you possibly balance encounters? That is a nightmare for a lot of dungeon masters. They have a lot of problems challenging those higher level characters. So really intentionally doing things like trying to use action economy to balance the actual encounters themselves, instead of maybe always upping the damage or the health of a monster, because action economy is this great equalizer. You can only do an action, you can only do a bonus action, you get a reaction. And so as that starts coming into play, I think that makes high level play a little more attainable, and so that's one of the things that I'm trying to test out right now. And so I went off on a tangent there. I apologize. And then the last game that I'm playing in, I never get to play. I've played for 22 years at this point, and in that entire time, I have played a character a maximum of 3 consecutive sessions before the inevitable happens, and then I have to dungeon master again. So it's just it's the plague that happens with DMs that do it all the time. And so one of the great things about D&D Beyond is we've hired an excellent. I'm going to give a shout out here, Elliot Spilk. He is a dungeon master, and he has been dungeon mastering for some time. He actually is dungeon mastering a game, and we just started Tomb of Annihilation, and I will absolutely live through it. Because I'm a broken character. I'm like a warlock for a couple of levels, and then a bard starting out, right? So I'm going to be this ultra mega caster that is good in every single skill, and I'm going to live, and I'm going to obviously do something with. Well, I won't spoil anything. So that's where we're headed, and I'm getting to play, and I'm having an absolute blast with that.
Your mic is warbling again, but I mean, we can still hear you, so it's not a huge deal. I wouldn't sweat it. So that is awesome. I'm digging the vibe on the post-apocalyptic Forgotten Realms. That's ambitious.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, with these high-level characters, and we still have 6 people playing in the campaign, I guess, and so with those high-level characters, it is really, really difficult to challenge them. I wanted something just horrific going on. I will share a little bit more, but I'm sure that some of them anyway are watching this, and I do not want to spoil the incredible surprises that are coming this way. But yeah, the world itself is kind of a horrible place to be, and I like placing characters in those kind of situations. The moral quandary that happened in our last session was incredible. They were in the Underdark. They were trapped there. Someone had an instant fortress. They threw that up, and so they were protected. The problem is when they entered the Underdark, they did so through a portal, and they had about 150 innocent commoners with them, and so they are trying to somehow shepherd this huge group of commoners through the Underdark, just trying to find some way to the surface. And so when they were staying the night, one of the spellcasters actually you know, cast an instant fortress, and another one cast another instant fortress. So they put, you know, half the people in one, just crammed them in and crammed them into this other one. And I told them that since we were in the Underdark, I wanted to try a little bit of random table, you know, encounter generation. And so I rolled an encounter, got Demon Lord, and I rolled Witch Demon Lord, and it was actually Demogorgon. Now, they didn't engage Demogorgon. They were, you know, smart about that, but they went and kind of retreated into their instant fortresses. And so as that happened, they finally emerged somewhere. And when they did, they were able to, you doing something else here?
So, guys, just a quick reminder, there is, you know, between 70 and 80 people on this stream, and in about 15 minutes or so, the contest will end. There's a link in the description for Gleam. D&D Beyond and Adam have been kind enough to offer up a legendary bundle, which is a ton of books and content in D&D Beyond that you'll be able to access. So you want to sign up for that contest, and basically the only requirement is you have to log into Gleam, and then you're going to click the button that says click here, and it's going to take you to the stream you're on right now, because I had to put something in there. So that's what it is. But the contest is winding down, guys. So we'll be picking a winner before too long. And we're at the halfway.
You were going to give that away, actually. Like, you know, were you going to do some kind of trial by combat or whatever? But
that would be cool. Instead, we're just going to use a Gleam link because it's easy. And also, guys, why don't you start the roll call while you're heading towards the description to enter that contest? Let me know where you guys are hailing from, and you know, probably very shortly after that, we're going to pick a winner. All I heard was legendary bundle. Well, the legendary bundle is freaking pretty legendary. So it's a bunch of D&D books and content on D&D Beyond that you guys can win, and you'll be able to use it right in your games. And also, I want to say quick too, Adam. I thought I had you guys. I was thinking about it. I'm mulling it over, and I'm like, you know, how's D&D Beyond bad, right? And I'm like, oh, I know. Especially when I compare it to other resources. I'm like, well, you get all this. You know, it's a database. So you're not going to have access to the rest of the adventures and stuff. You're not getting most of the adventure. So I went and poked around. I'm like, no, that's in there as well. So, you know, you do have access to all the maps and the content, and you can run, you know, the pre-made adventures that you've purchased right from D&D Beyond. So
yeah, absolutely. We've got all the content. That legendary bundle has all of the official content, including the recently released Turtle package. So the legendary bundle is absolutely a total Turtle package, and you can get all that content. And in addition to that, anytime a new source is released, I don't know if anyone's heard of Xanathar's Guide to Everything, but once that comes out in November, you can actually just for the rest of the, you know, your life, however long D&D Beyond is around, hopefully, you know, 3 decades. So for 3 decades, you can get 15% off every other item that ever comes out. So it's actually a pretty nice deal that you can get Xanathar's for $24 instead of $29 or whatever it is.
So with that, I'm going to jump into the roll call here. We've got Forged at the Table is in Montana. Zareth Gaming is in New Mexico. Follow Me and Die is in Michigan. We got Tacoma, Washington house with Daniel. We've got Brian, Arizona with Embershade. Brian Collin is in West Georgia. We got Doug in Cleveland. That's our editor over on the website. Does an amazing job. We have Brian F. in New York City. Scott Minyard is in Arkansas. We have Plainfield, Illinois in the house with PTB Synthex. TrueMate is in Wales, UK. We got Columbus, Ohio with Geek and Undies. We've got Raven in OZ. We've got King's Links in Roswell, Georgia. We've got Central Coast, California with Sean. Panama City Beach, Florida with Devlin. Leo is in New York, Syracuse. We've got Comrade 2261 in City of Sin, Lynn, Massachusetts. We've got Aruba in the house with PMK 108. We've got Joshua Tree, California with Mike. Deuce Maximus is in Haverhill. We've got Arkansas with Josh. White Rabbit is in New York. We got Pittsburgh in the house with Noah. Kurt is in the demiplane of work. We've got Kyle. We had Kyle, but we lost you, Kyle. You're gone for good, I'm afraid. No, we had oh, you didn't actually say where you're from. We also have Orlando, Florida with Flareth. We've got Fernando. No. We've got Regilio in Utah. We got Paul in Pittsburgh. Video game plays by Nerdarchy in New Jersey. Alex is in Los Angeles. Lake Stevenson, Washington with Frigginator. We've got Arizona in the house with Dominius. I need an assistant just to read for me. We got Eastern Canada in the dungeon with Gelatinous Cube. Washington, D.C. is Deranged 68. We got Burbank with Frank. We got Dennis in Glenside, Pennsylvania. California with Subsist Cyber. We got Fernando. We've got Los Angeles in the house with Raphael. We've got Mike in California. We got Steve in Washington, D.C. We got Catharsis in California as well. We got Montana in the house with Justin. Mississippi with Big N. Horace is in Providence, the Bahamas. Nice. Let's see. Oh, good. I think April is in Texas. I think I just finally made it to the end. I'm realizing as these become more successful, the less I might want to do the roll call.
I was about to say the internet is absolute.
It is. And you know, it's funny because I do these every day, and there's a couple people from Sweden that usually chimes in that aren't here. I wonder what they got going on in Sweden today.
They just didn't like me.
They show up pretty much every day without fail, so I'm not sure if that could be it. But you could be right. Who knows? The internets can be fickle. So how did you get started gaming? Let's go back to that, to the gaming aspect a little bit.
Yeah, so I was, I guess, 5 when I first saw an NES. So I started playing a Zelda, you know, the original, The Legend of Zelda, and absolutely fell in love with the concept of role-playing games. I couldn't really call it that back then, of course, but I had Super Mario Brothers. I could play it. It was fine. But then getting to The Legend of Zelda from Super Mario Brothers was just like, you know, this whole other world opened up. And so it was just this incredible thing. I also, when I was about 5, saw Star Wars for the first time. And as a 5-year-old with no attention span, I sat there and watched all 3 of the classic trilogy movies, and barely moved. Just moved to put a new VHS into the VCR. But that just opened my imagination to everything, and so I knew that eventually I would end up doing something, in a creative field, and that's what I wanted to do from that point in time. So when I was about 8, maybe, I saw the original Dungeons and Dragons cartoon, and that was my first introduction into Dungeons and Dragons, and I still knew nothing about the game. I grew up, if you can't tell from the accent, here in Alabama. That's where we're headquartered, is Huntsville, Alabama. I grew up in this area, and Dungeons and Dragons was a taboo. It was difficult to find anyone that would play Dungeons and Dragons because it was the same thing here in our region. We also had some problems when Harry Potter first came out, and it's really a great place where we've gotten to now, where those kind of concerns, people are not fearing what they don't understand, nearly as much anymore. But it was still difficult to find anyone that would play Dungeons and Dragons. And so I would be at school making maps on graph paper. I had no clue what a role-playing game was, a tabletop role-playing game was. I had no clue what Dungeons and Dragons really was. I thought it was a cartoon. And I'm, making these graph paper maps. I'm running friends through these dungeons, and I even folded pieces of paper to kind of cover up, like, hey, here's treasure or a monster and you don't know what you're getting, and I'm going to fold it out, and they're shocked and surprised. And it was so weird. I used to make them pick a number between 1 and 10 to see how close to success they were. And so it was so similar to what, rolling dice and everything else. And I was playing this without even knowing what D&D was, or any tabletop role-playing game. And it was when I was, I guess, 14 that I was introduced to role-playing games in general. Started out through a mutual love of Star Wars with the phenomenal West End Games Star Wars game. And I used to, have this space pirate that would drop down 14d6 or something, some kind of attack. And, it was just incredibly enjoyable. It opened up something. It wasn't long after that, the person that introduced me to that, his name was Nathan Horton, and he was actual student minister at a church that I was attending. And so he was kind of breaking through that taboo even back then. And he told me about Dungeons and Dragons. I said, hey, I watched that cartoon. He started talking about Dragonlance, and I was just kind of enamored, and read books, and then came in and made my paladin, and all of that for Dragonlance. And that was the first time I'd played Dungeons and Dragons, when I was about 15, and I just loved it ever since. Unfortunately, I made it about 2 sessions and then I was dungeon mastering. So kind of a DM ever since then. But no looking back, it's literally changed my life. I think that it's something that Chris Perkins says frequently, that if more people played Dungeons and Dragons, it would make the world a better place. And I absolutely believe that. The people that I've played with in the past have become better people as a result of playing D&D. And it really is something, seeing the success of where 5th edition in particular is at this point. It's kind of like that moment where, you say, I used to like the band. I used to follow the band when they weren't big. So it's this great homecoming, and it's an incredible time to be alive.
It is an amazing time. I mean, I marvel at the job Watts is doing right now with all the streaming. It was a great idea.
Yeah, they've really gone all in with that, and I think it's a very good move for them to do that. I think that, again, it's become a way for people to get information now. Like, it's hard to go to a website now and just simply read through news. It's so much easier to consume that content in bite-sized video form, and it's more personable. It's easier to convey emotion and everything else that needs to come out through that video. And you can see, of course, we've started doing a great bit of original content on D&D Beyond itself. We've brought in Todd Kenrick, who's doing a great job there, and we're trying to really focus on telling the story of what Dungeons and Dragons is. And I think that the really great thing about that is that you can watch a video where Mike or Jeremy or Chris or Holly or any of these folks that you see in the community, or that develop the game, you can see the excitement. You can see how much they care about this game, and that just reinforces that this is in such great hands and we're in such a good place with it. And so I think that all of this streaming is absolutely the way to go.
Well, 100%. I mean, I kind of marvel at the fact that the other gaming companies haven't really figured this out. Like, and it's really like a super inexpensive way to advertise, for one, but at the same time, you're getting the brand awareness out there. You're getting people to know about your games. and there's definitely people that are hungering for it. So, you know, it just seems like a no-brainer, and the entry point is so low. You know,
Well, see, I think that's where a lot of people get hung up, though. I think that a lot of these companies think that the entry point is a lot higher than it really is, right? They think that if they're going to come and start streaming some kind of content, that it's going to have to be this really polished, huge production. And I think that the fan base, I mean, yes, we have a great example of an incredibly popular stream in Critical Role that is, you know, amazingly polished, and you know, these are professional voice actors that are doing this incredible job. And so yes, that's extremely popular, and of course it's going to be popular. They do a great job, but there are other streams that I watch that are, you know, lower on that production budget, and possibly not professional voice actors, that are incredibly engaging, and it's a great way to consume content. So I think that a lot of the companies need to really start understanding that, you know, as much as Blizzard could come out with a really huge production to talk about like what they're working on with Overwatch, they just have a dude sitting in front of a camera talking about what they're doing with Overwatch, and people are eating it up. And so I think people need to really start, you know, thinking through like how that is. And I think that we're more and more coming into an age of where authenticity and being genuine matters to people. We have such a climate in the world today where, you know, putting up this facade and being fake, and just being really, really preachy or whatever is a turnoff. And I think that the more that we can start to realize that being authentic and being transparent and you know, taking responsibility for things, I think that's going to be the direction that we all need to go.
Yeah, I will sum that up and make it really simple. People's bullshit meter is at an all-time high. You know, so if you think you're going to come on here and, you know, fake people out, it's just not really the case. It isn't really going to happen. People are going to see through it eventually.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, people, I don't think they're all getting that message, right? Like they're still trying to do that kind of thing. And people, that's a really good way to put it. But, you know, that meter is easy to trigger in today's world, and I think that's a perfect place for people to be. But you know, companies and game developers and everyone else just needs to take notice of that and actually work around that, and say, you know, one of the things that I say constantly on our forums, it's become a bit of a litany, is that I'm not going to talk about dates. For instance, you know, it's in any kind of web software development, it's a horrible practice to start getting in that. I can guarantee you that when Google or Amazon or anyone else, one of these big players, reveal a date to the public, that means that it's already been through about 50 rounds of testing. They know without any shadow of a doubt that date's going to be hit. And then even very occasionally that date's not hit, because it's just really, really hard with all the factors that you have to take into consideration. And so instead of just bullshitting and you know, kind of putting out you know, this fake front for that, I think that people really respond to being more genuine and authentic about that, and being transparent with some of the struggles. You know, because we're all human beings, we all make mistakes. The real key that I think people are trying to focus in on is we are trying to do something, right? And so a developer that is really trying to do good, that's trying to make something happen, I think we can all get behind that.
So, one, I'm about to announce the winner for the contest, but before I get to that, one quick question. So before D&D Beyond was started, were you already working for Curse, or did they bring you in for it?
No, that's a great question. Yeah, I hired into Curse about 1.5 years ago, and D&D Beyond started kind of culminating on my second day in the office. So I was not hired to do anything about Dungeons and Dragons. I was hired actually to like manage our straw poll product, strawpoll.me, instant polls that you can create very easily and quickly. People use it in a lot of Twitch streams. So I was managing that for a while, And the second day I was in the office, I was in a strategy meeting, and they were talking about moving into new markets and doing something outside of video gaming that maybe was still gaming. And of course, in the back of my mind, I'm like, boy, I've got something for you. Like we can definitely do this. I know that we can make this happen. And so even from day two, it started kind of taking root, and I started pitching, and any article that I would ever see about like how much the industry is exploding in popularity, I would send that on as a data point. So over several months, we were able to kind of get that off the ground internally as something that we call an Ignite project. It's a way that in our company we can try to spend 20% of our time, so about a day a week, on working passion projects and things that are maybe not like on the roadmap, right? It's things that you want to do, things that you think can make a difference. And so we got D&D Beyond. Back then it was called Tabletop Hero. I'm not exactly sure how we came up with that name, but that was kind of the working title for it. Tabletop Hero was what we were working on for about a month. We got a proof of concept together, and then we said, this is going to really be something, and this is going to be way better if we can partner with Wizards of the Coast here. So we reached out. We actually just sent a 30-second sizzle reel to Wizards of the Coast, and it found its way into Nathan Stewart's hands, and the rest at this point is history. But yeah, I was hired completely for something else, and so I changed my destiny a little bit there.
Nice. That was just the stars just coalesced at the right time in the right place, which is awesome. So I'm going to do a screen share and see how this works out. Can you see my screen, Adam?
I can.
Okay. Hopefully they can too. For some reason, I do these all the time, but for some reason, the last time I tried doing a screen share, it would not allow me. I don't remember if this is going to show an email or not. I don't think so. Now I'm a little hesitant if I should hit the button or not live.
Yeah, maybe not screen share and then see what it does and then screen share.
All right, guys. So, because I don't actually, I've used Gleam like one time before, so I am not entirely certain, what information it shows, guys. So, just so I'm not giving away anyone's information or email address, I'm going to do it now, but I'm not going to share it till afterwards. And I know I'm not going to give away anything that you wouldn't want shown. So hitting the button, it's thinking. We shall see.
I'm excited.
Me too. It absolutely would have shown you
Good call.
The email. So Daniel Packard, you are the winner. I have your email address, which I will pass on to Adam. And so the only thing I think you need to be aware of is you need to have you have to have a Twitch login, and you have to go over to the D&D Beyond at least once before he can activate you.
So essentially, I'll definitely reach out in the email, Daniel, and congratulations. But ultimately, what we will need is your Twitch login, or if you happen to already have a legendary bundle and you want to give that to a friend, we just need the Twitch ID /DDB ID for the account that you want to unlock that for. So I'll reach out via email and we'll get you set up. Congrats.
Yeah, so that's super cool. I want to thank you guys again, because that is a super sweet prize. I think especially if you're a GM, you're going to get a lot of use out of that. And even if you're not, right, you have the ability to share your content with your gaming group.
Yeah, so the way it works, if you've unlocked all the content, anyone, so even if you're not the dungeon master, the DM, or anyone in that campaign can turn on content sharing for that campaign, and then everyone's content is pooled. So if you wanted to, one of you buy the player's handbook, one of you buy the dungeon master's guide, one of you buy the monster manual. If you all three joined a campaign and one of you turned on content sharing through a master tier subscription, then all of you would have access to all 3 of those books. So if you have a legendary bundle, you become very valuable to your campaign.
Yeah. So if you're not a DM, your DM is probably going to find you invaluable now. So maybe you don't have to chip in for pizza now. So Noah Mason asked a question: is there any intention to integrate D&D Beyond with other digital products that Wizard of the Coast partners with, like Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds, or do you guys have the intent of eventually having your own virtual tabletop? Well, not part of the question. I added the last part.
Oh, Dave's sneaking one in. So yeah, the answer to the first part in particular is we have already been talking to Doug's a great guy at Fantasy Grounds. We've been talking to him. I think that in the reasonable near future, we'll be able to kind of as a starting point, what we'll try to do with the virtual tabletops is simply allow you to create a character in D&D Beyond and export that character to that virtual tabletop. So that is absolutely, we've already been in talks about that. We'll make that happen as soon as we can. And as for the other question, we do not have any current plans to do a virtual tabletop. We definitely will look to integrate with them, as quickly as we can. Obviously, I'm not an oracle of any sort, and I can't say what the future is going to hold. But at this point, we have no current plans to do that, and we'll continue to look for ways that we can integrate. We're also doing a huge pass on Adventurers League. I saw that Robert was on yesterday, and we're going to be working with Wizards of the Coast and some of those AL admins to kind of automate and make tracking things for the Adventurers League easier. We'll add in validation for characters. You'll get a little Adventurers League badge on your character that is a quick way to show a dungeon master that you're following all the rules. So we'll be doing that soon, and then we're also going to be looking for ways to integrate more fully with the DMs Guild.
So I'm sorry, I've sidetracked a little bit. In the comments are like, we can read it in your glasses. So much for not sharing it.
That's
but
nice.
I did it. I did everything I can without like gouging out my eyes, guys. Sorry. Now that's actually really cool, though. I'm really happy to hear that answer. And it definitely sounds like you guys want to work with the players that are already on the field and not just decimate them. So that's kind of cool too, and it speaks to what the community is for RPGs and tabletop, and it really adds to it. And I've always said, no matter what the thing is, there's usually room for everybody. And it's really cool if you guys are looking to find those spaces.
Yeah, it's rising tides for sure. Raise all the ships. And I can say this, and again, people say this kind of thing all the time. I'm not exactly sure how much they mean it, but I'm going to say it in a charming Southern accent to say that we do care about the community. We care about the game, and that's what we're trying to do. So as we take these steps going forward, we're going to be trying to keep the community first, keep the game itself first, and do the best thing that we can do for the game. And that's going to be our stance.
Excellent. And that is awesome too. And like, I know we had a conversation before too, and you're kind of like chomping at the bit a little bit, like, I want people to know that I am really a gamer and this is a passion of mine. And I think that came through, especially when you're talking about your campaigns and who but a true gamer is going to come on here and talk about their post-apocalyptic Forgotten Realms campaign.
Absolutely.
And, we affectionately Edible realms because it's like the most generic settings without being Greyhawk.
I'm not sure how affectionate that is, but yeah, that's.
So here's the thing: we all have loved and enjoyed reading novels in Forgotten Realms. We just don't like running games there. We don't like playing games there. If we're gonna do generic fantasy, we kind of just want to do our own thing. But because at the same time, when we're drawn to Wizards of the Coast settings, they're like Spelljammer, Ebron, Dark Sun, Ravenloft, things that are heavily
all those,
yeah. And it's just not like Forgotten Realms is awesome for what it is, right? It started as Ed Greenwood's home campaign, and it's freaking amazing for that.
Absolutely. And see, the thing is, I think with the Forgotten Realms, and I think this is just really important for any dungeon master to remember is any kind of published product, and the good DMs talk about this all the time, any kind of published product is not a script. It is not a script in any way. You've got to take the Forgotten Realms in this case and make it yours. And so I think that you can definitely spice up the Forgotten Realms in really, really interesting ways if you make it yours. And I think the biggest key to any kind of game, whether it's the, regardless of the setting and the backdrop that you're playing it in, you've got to understand what the players are wanting out of the game and what their characters are wanting out of that campaign. And you've got to pull out elements. You've got to customize it as you're going through, Rise of Tiamat. Like, I introduced Odalia Karnos, the Silver Dragon, way earlier in the story, and it was just random happenstance. The players went, I thought they were going to zig, and they zagged, and we ended up introducing that character. It became a beloved NPC right off the bat. It was not in the script, quote unquote. And it's seriously, one of the most memorable, elements of the campaign. One of the characters fell in love with her, had a relationship with her. She died protecting them recently when Klauth, the Red Rage of Mintarn, came down and tried to murder them all. So it was this huge arc, and it was an accidental arc, improvisation, where I introduced that NPC much earlier. But I just took that as a backdrop, and then we're playing our game, and it is my Forgotten Realms in this case, and our, the players, our Forgotten Realms. And so that's an incredibly important thing to remember for any type of published product. I encourage people to do that with Tomb of Annihilation. Tie that into those characters' backstories. Figure out what it is that they're after. Why do they care about a soulmonger? All that's really, really important, and that's going to improve your game quite a bit.
Yeah, I have to address one thing real quick. Guys, everything on Nerdarchy, when myself, Ted, Nate, and even when Ryan was here for the most part, unless we're specifically quoting something from the books or the rules, it is our opinion. Like, if you enjoy the Forgotten Realms, play the Forgotten Realms. I'm not telling you how to play your game. That is a huge thing about the Nerdarchy channel, is we don't care how you play your game as long as you're playing. Have fun, enjoy it, make it your own. Whether that is Forgotten Realms or Ebron or your homebrew, it doesn't matter. We are always speaking for ourselves, because I believe that was the phrase that was used, because that's all we can do. Our channel is commentary and opinions by us. We don't mean to spout them as facts, and if they come off that way, we apologize, but that's never our intent. Our intent is to give you our opinions and our commentary, and that's all it is. You do with it what you want. Take it with a grain of salt. We're a bunch of bozos talking about playing make-believe as adults. We love the game, we enjoy it, and we think everybody should enjoy the game, however best suits them. As long as everybody at your table's having fun, it doesn't matter. I had gotten a Facebook message the other day, and I guess I infuriated the person with my response, because he took it as being flippant, because there was something he didn't like about something introduced in Unearthed Arcana, and he brought up a change. I'm like, well, it's your game, run it however you want. And I mean that with all sincerity. Like, if you feel like, so even if it's in the core material and it's sanctioned by Wizards of the Coast, if you're playing in your game and your group agrees on a change, then that's legit. It may not be legit at another table or Adventures League, but at your table is totally legit. So we are just
rule zero.
Yeah, that's it. It essentially says that in the DMG somewhere, I'm fairly certain, and as well as the it may even say it in the player's handbook as well. So always just make it your game and enjoy it your way. Our biggest thing here at Nerdarchy is, guys, just be out there playing games. That's all we really, really want anyway. So we were past the hour mark, and so that is it for today. I want to thank you again for coming on, Adam. Hopefully he cleared some things up for you guys, answered some questions. Someone just won something really awesome. Congrats on that, Daniel. And until next time, guys, stay nerdy.
Thanks.